Alright, so I'm starting with a 9x9 pan. Grease it, obviously. I like to use Pam olive oil. It's probably the best one to keep things from sticking. So I'm going to make a little cheesy crust for the bottom of what I'm about to make. So, then, this, I don't know if you guys know what this is, but this is Mimolette cheese. It's probably the most delicious cheese in the world. Oh, look, it's a face. Hey, Joe, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, okay. Anyway, it actually got banned by the FDA because they use mites to age the cheese in these caves in France. And they got outlawed for a long time because the FDA said that the mites weren't what they wanted. But then they were like, we're stupid, so whatever. Anyway, hey, well, we're gonna make this foods? Yeah, we'll make the foods. Oh, yeah. So as I put the mimolette in there, ooh, there's a little tasty nugget for you. I'm just gonna create a perfect little crisp because I have the oven at 500 degrees. And I'm boiling water right now. I'm gluten free, and so I use edamame spaghetti. It's gonna be delicious. I initially was going to make lasagna, but some of the stores around here are very limited on their gluten-free pasta. But the edamame pasta is amazing. So I get the full strain and I break it in half, just like this, and bam, and you throw it in. That way, you can move them around very easily inside of your dish that you're trying to use, and then you can do multiple layers upon layers upon layers of all of the goodness that is in your fridge. And I totally forgot cottage cheese. So I'm going to be using a bunch of different cheeses that I bought from the store just now, which hopefully turns out well. We'll find out. But the secret to this whole recipe is it's macaroni, cheese, and tomatoes. And I already made the marinara sauce earlier out of random things from my fridge. And I am going to make more stuffs. And it's healthy. It's good for you. It's high in protein. I mean, other than the cheese part. But it's going to be good. Now, the secret to the mimolette, as they said in the FDA, is you have to cut off this back part, because that's where the mites were. But this cheese is like the sharpest cheddar cheese with garlic and like the most amazing flavor you've ever had in your life. Now, I've had mimolette cheese that actually is bright red, or this is kind of like a half red. It's amazing stuff. So if you haven't tried it, you need to try it. Mimolette. It's French and it's delightful and it's amazing. So now we have a little mimolette cheeser, just a little bit, not too much. You don't want a lot. So I'm gonna put sauce and cheese and noodles and all kinds of stuff in there. I cut all of the mites off of the piece of cheese that is probably the most delightful cheese I've ever had in my life. You need to try it. I swear to God, you guys will be like, what? This is the best cheese I've ever had in my life. And then you'll thank me in advance. It's amazing. I was introduced to this when I worked for the National MS Society. I was doing this huge fundraiser and we were having a meeting with all the millionaires, and they brought this out as part of the charcuterie board. And I had no idea what it was, and I tasted it. Now I'm obsessed. It's hard to find. Whole Foods has it, and for a decent price. So edamame pasta done. You want to leave a little bit of water in the bottom because it's going to steam for a while, and this stuff likes to suck moisture in, so you got to leave it like that. Then you want to set your oven at about 325. There's the final Mimolette crisper. Still has to set for a minute. You don't want to move the cheese yet because you got to let it set up so it like is hard, because it's been toasting in the oven and it looks delightful. It smells amazing. And then the first thing we're gonna do after this is we're gonna grab my marinara sauce that I made earlier. And by the way, you can make marinara out of pretty much any tomato-based substance in your fridge. You just have to know how to fix it. So I used 2 different kinds of salsa and Bloody Mary mix and a bunch of garlic and salt and some balsamic and just random stuff. And whatever you like, but it's flawless. I was really shocked that I got it to this point, but it is perfect. So once that's crisped and settled down, so to speak, I'm gonna dump some of that in there. And then I'm gonna do some noodles. Then I'm gonna do some fresh tomatoes, Roma tomatoes over there, and then we'll keep going. Also, if you guys haven't heard about this company, it's called Arrow Garden. I'm not repping them or anything, but Jesus Christ. I have fresh basil all over the place, so much that I have to put them in cups so that they root out so I can put them in my garden outside, because this shit grows like crazy. So these were up here today, and I took them out, chopped them all out, chopped them all up, and put them in the sauce, because this stuff is crazy. And the royal basil and the sweet basil, they grow the best here. As you can see, you can see the roots down here. It's nuts. You can just throw them in a glass of water and they'll root out. It's crazy. And then you can throw them in your garden and you'll have more plants. It's amazing. It's incredible. But this is all hydroponic. It tells you exactly what time to change the water and add plant food and everything. And it puts the LED lights on, which are incredible. They're very low. Let me turn this around. Oh, I can't, apparently. They're very low power drainage on your house, and there's no real heat at all to them. I can touch it, it doesn't hurt. It's just the sequence of all of the LEDs that make it work really, really well. So I would recommend everybody get an Arrow Garden, because even in winter or anything, you can grow fresh herbs or spices, or even potatoes for that matter, inside your house, even if it's snowing outside, Utah. So I made this delicious marinara that has lamb and beef, a lot of basil, a lot of spices like oregano and herbes de Provence, if you want to get fancy. So I'm going to get this. I'm going to put it on top of the crisper. Spread it around. This is hard to do with one hand. Spread it around. Just like this. Yeah, I made some lamb and regular beef burgers that were in the freezer, so I was like, shit, I could use those for this sauce. So we put that on the bottom, on top of the crisper. Just like that. Now then you want to put another layer of cheese. Now I still have some mimolette, so I'm going to use that for this layer of cheese. Now there's going to be a couple layer of cheeses, but look how beautiful this cheese is. It's incredible. It's delicious. Oh, you got to try it. Now for those of you that are keto, there's literally no carb other than the edamame pasta. And edamame is technically keto balanced. So, don't worry about that. And so I put this on top of the sauce. Then I'm going to put the noodles on top. Noodles in. Now the next part. Cutting up the tomatoes. I'm going to put tomatoes all over this so they bake into all the goodness, because I love Roma tomatoes. I love the other sweet ones that we normally get, which I'm growing in my backyard, but I don't think they're going to grow all the way because it is winter here and they don't look like they're going to do it. But I have these and they're going to be delicious. Just make sure with your tomatoes, once you slice them like in quarter strips, to add a little salt to them, because it makes all the sugars break down inside the tomato so they taste sweeter. I know that doesn't sound right, but it's real. So you get your little murder candidates. Tomatoes, not murders. Anyway. And then you just give them a little sprinkle of salt. That's all. Just a little two. That forces them to start leaking the fluid out of them, which forces the sugar back inside of them. And then they're delicious. Yeah, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna put that in the middle. Tomatoes in. Remember, saw the tomatoes. See how they're like leaking? That's forcing the sugar back inside of them. Just like when you eat too much sodium and you retain water. It's basically the same scientific technology. Someone proved me wrong, because I know it's right. Anyway, another layer of mimolette. And the best part about mimolette, the lactose content is like 0 to 0. So you can use it. It's just like any hard cheese. There's not a lot of lactose. So all of you lactose intolerant people, mimolette cheese, probably the best thing in the world. Then more noodles, more sauce, and then more cheese. Got the noodles in there. And just so everyone knows, if you're on a diet, this is healthy living as a fat kid, because I love cheese. But if you're keto, you can do this. This is totally okay. And if anyone wants to prove me wrong, tell them to prove me wrong. So we're gonna go for some more cheese. I don't know which to use. I'm thinking goat cheese or no, we'll just use sharp cheddar. Fuck it. I don't want to waste goat cheese. So we're gonna do that. First, sauce. Cheese. My girl's gonna be happy because she bought an 85-pound bag of sharp cheddar cheese, and I finally just used it all. So you're welcome, Gracie. Now I'm going to garnish this with some parsley and some oregano, just to make it pretty and aromatic. Couldn't find parsley, so I'm going to use some of my fresh basil plants, chop them up and sprinkle them on top because snip, snip. It's time for snip, snip. Look at all that goodness. Fresh basil. Yep. Now it's going in the oven at 320. You're going to want to cook this on about, 325, 350 for about 25, 30, maybe even 40 minutes, depending on your elevation. I, however, live in an elevation that is below sea level, so it's a little different for me. So judge accordingly, and I will show you the end product in a flash. Here's the end prospect. Lots of goodness, lots of deliciousness, everything working together to solidify. And then you're gonna want to let it sit for like 10 to 15 minutes so it can all harden a little bit before you start cutting it. Otherwise it's gonna all fall apart. But look at this beautiful little... Anyway, that's the end of my story. So